The Breakdown.
A Song You Can't Feel Anymore by Harm. This is the North Carolina Outfit's second studio album, self-released on the 23rd of June. A Song You Can't Feel Anymore consists of 10 tracks, clocks in at around 39 minutes, and is the follow-up to 2019's What We Know Is a Drop, What We Don't Know Is an Ocean, which is I'm gonna be real honest with you here.
I thought you said you were going to be ominous for a second, and I was like, this got really interesting.
Tripped over my words, but that's such a sick song title that it almost casts a shadow over this new one.
Well, this band is straight from the title. 2005 school of post-hardcore song titles.
Yes, but this new album title is also solid. And Harm, another band that we don't have a ton of familiarity with. I don't think either of us heard that debut.
No, I literally stumbled on, like, on the Twitter For You page, like stumbled on one of their songs and fell
Recently.
fell absolutely head over heels in love with them. And I couldn't shake it, right? So it's like suddenly there was a spot marked in the calendar where it was like I had to hear this album.
Yeah, quick turnaround too. Like you
Oh yeah, you mean from discovering them? Yeah, well, that's just convenience.
Yeah.
So I think the thing that stood out to me, okay, here's what stood out to me the most, is that this album was nothing like I expected it to be. I thought, based off of, I believe the track was I Fear Only That My Rage Will Fade Over Time, I thought I had, like, this band figured out. You know what I mean? Like, I thought I knew what to expect with them. And then immediately getting into this record, it was nothing at all like I anticipated.
Yeah.
It was like, I was a complete, like, different tone shift from what I thought I was going to get. So there was, like, a little bit of, like, a weird acclimation period for me where it's almost like I had to listen to this album once and then go back and actually listen to it again.
You're right,
once
like
I sort of, like, got it out of my system.
Thinking to yourself, like, did I click on the right Harm on Spotify? Like, is this the
A
right
little bit
band?
though. A little bit though. So this band reminds me a lot of Under Oath, and I think it might be something about the tone of, like, the screaming vocals on it in particular, coupled with, like, the naming conventions of their songs, the way Under Oath used to name a song.
This one, like, I close my eyes and I think, like, Adelphia by Skylar Drive.
Right. So much of it feels fashioned from, like, an older era of, like, metalcore.
Yes. In a really, really wonderful way.
Satisfying way, to be honest.
Nostalgic in just a fantastic way, and it makes the whole listening experience awesome, because I don't know, that's like my favorite type of music still, like that older 2010 style of metalcore, post-hardcore.
It's interesting you say that, because it's like I agree with you there that, like, the album that it's like I enjoy the album that I got, right? But this is sort of played against a little bit of the album that I thought I was going to get, which is all based off of I Fear Only That My Rage Will Fade Over Time, which is, like, one of...
What's the difference with that song?
So that one is, like, it's just, like, the way that song is shaped, in that it's, like, both one of the most bombastic songs I've ever heard and also, like, one of the most, like, quietly comforting songs. And the way that it's almost, like, split that way is such a fucking experience to listen to. And I think everything outside of that song is maybe a little bit more traditional or familiar. That song is it's such a diamond in the rough of, like, everything I've heard this whole year. Like, that song has stood out to me almost above everything else. Like, that track for me is one of the best songs I've heard all year, and I've been obsessed with it. And that, I think, has manipulated my expectations in a really severe way.
Really?
Where I don't think that it's made me think the album that I got is bad, but it's made me think that this is not the album that I like. It's been hard to like temper my expectations of what I thought this album was going to be versus what this album actually is. So it's like I'm getting an album. I got an album that I enjoyed, but it's not the album that I thought I was going to get.
It was a bit easier for me to get acclimated to it. Like 2 songs in, I was like, oh man, not what Sam sold me on, but I'm liking what I'm hearing. And I that was like just the entire experience I had as far as
what did you like overall about what you heard? Like for me, I think what stands out the most is like I think the thematic elements of this album are like really strong, and like the story that it's trying to like the narrative that it's trying to like communicate.
I like a lot of the parts around the songs that really flesh everything out between like the extended song titles,
atmosphere.
Like just the aesthetics of things. Like I feel like this band has a vision in mind, and I think that they mostly deliver on it.
Right, they do a good job of making this feel like one very cohesive project.
They sell me on this sound, and I think as a result, like I walk away from it, and even though a lot of what I'm hearing is definitely familiar, maybe not in 2023, but back in the day I heard a lot of this, it still just flat out works for me. So like we're talking a really excellent vocal dynamic between our clean singer and our screamer, and they're trading off, and we have a heavy verse, soft chorus, a lot of like good riffage in general. Like you said, there's a good bit of atmosphere throughout. Lyrically, it's hard to pick up on everything happening, but like especially on that one single you mentioned, like some strong lyricism throughout.
Yeah, there's a lot of like it's almost like it's not specific. There's like a lot of like words of like condemnation. Like there feels like we're speaking directly to like an individual. There's almost like religious, like biblical, like subtext in like the background of some of these songs. I think this is definitely, if you were to, in my mind, if you were to ask the band, this feels like a project that was written explicitly about someone. And I feel like that's the energy I get from these songs. Like this does not, there's no general sense to any of this. It feels explicit in its tone, even though it may not directly like name or call out an individual in particular, like in a way that like completely illuminates what this narrative is to me.
Did you have, so what was your favorite song outside of that one you had mentioned earlier?
I think that The World is Merciless, but it is also very beautiful. It does an incredible job of really like perfectly capturing the entirety of the album in a singular song, which also makes it work very well as like the closer on this record. I think I have like the most appreciation for that track on like a more basic level. All My Life, My Heart Has Yearned for Things I Cannot Name is very heavy and intense, and I responded to that one particularly strongly. And then Nothing Down There Is What They Say I thought was like very emotionally heavy. So I think this band sort of kind of like runs the range of specific aspects that I really enjoyed spread across different songs. But I will sort of circle back to saying that for me, nothing even comes close to I Fear Only That My Rage.
Honestly, I think that it's funny the life that song has taken on for both of us, in that for you, like that's sort of the point of comparison for all the other songs on this album. Like this is good, but is it as good as that single? For me, that's the turning point on this album, where like prior to it, it's a good album. That song comes and goes, and then the rest of the album happens, and suddenly it's a wonderful album. But not just because of that single. But
I know, but that's peak right there, and then from there, it almost like earns your like full attention. You know what I mean?
Pretty much, yeah. But like and immediately so, because like I Wish You Could See Yourself comes on right after the fact, and that is one of my favorite tracks on here. It's probably my second favorite behind the single we've talked about, and I think that like at that point this band does not miss a step for the rest of the album, and at that point like we still have 3 or 4 songs to go.
I think overall I would probably give this like a 4, where I think it's a really strong outing, but I feel like this band in instances has really found a very strong, unique voice. And I think that that shines a light on how special they can be versus how good they currently are. So I think that in the familiar aspects of this band, they're strong, but where they really separate themselves from everybody else, they are exemplary. And if there is a version of this band that can hone that and it becomes that next album, then for me, that is where we'll be perfect.
I'm not far off. No, I think I'm right on 4 with you. That feels right. It's funny that we both settled at that regardless.
Yeah, I mean, we just got there in different ways.
Yeah. You summed it up real well. I'll emphasize again, like, this band is just flat out talented. You get a lot of tastes of that throughout the entirety of this record, and I just recommend it.
One of my favorite finds of this year by far.
A song You Can't Feel Anymore by Harm.